Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you join us from. My name is Dr. Obioramba Iboeze, reaching you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Nkwo Market Day in the 9th month of the Igbo lunar calendar called Onwa Ana or Onwa Ane or Onwa Ala, depending on your dialect. Today's date in the Roman Catholic calendar is October 24, 2024. Remember, at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call Ako Nuche, to evaluate all the information you are getting before you make a decision. Also, we package lectures and present them from Biafran and African perspectives. That is how you're supposed to be seeing things, from the way it is affecting you and me. That's why it's important that you must always join us on all our live lectures. And if you miss any of our lectures, go immediately and listen to them and go to our previous lectures. Today's lecture is number 81. Total of 81 lectures we have presented in this university. Remember, Nkolo Mahadum is an university where we package lectures and present it to you from Biafran and African perspectives. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, like our program, comment, and share. The topic of today's lecture is Understanding World Bank and International Monetary Fund, which they call IMF. The title of today's lecture is Understanding the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF. And we want you to comment in our comment section if you know any country that World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF, have made great, have helped to be great. Let us know in the comment section. Before we go into detail in this lecture, we have to give you the origin or brief history of the World Bank and IMF. The World Bank and IMF, the thought to have IMF and World Bank created was after the Second World War. After that war, there was a conference called Bretton Woods Conference. Bretton Woods Conference, formerly known as the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference. You have about 730 delegates from 44 countries that attended that conference at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, in the United States. And the conference held between July 1st to 22, almost more than 3 weeks, a day for almost 22 days. And ended, the conference held from July 1st to 22nd, 1944. In that conference, you have United States, you have Canada, you have other Western European countries, Australia, and other 44 countries. The aim of the conference is to formalize the monetary exchange rates, because there was no exchange rate, there was no world exchange rate at that time. It is important to rationalize and organize the economic system. And so in that conference, the dollar became the world currency. Why the dollar itself is to be converted into gold, is backed by gold. The dollar was backed by gold, and then the dollar became the international currency, which means every nation now have to convert their money to dollar for international trades. That's what it means. And in that conference also, the IMF was to maintain a fixed exchange rate centered on the US dollar. So the function of the IMF at that time was to make sure that they maintain a fixed exchange rate centered on the dollar, while the dollar is backed by gold. And then in that conference as well, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which also became the World Bank, was also formed. So both of them were formed out of the Bretton Woods Conference. So both were born together. But currently, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in addition to maintaining an exchange rate based on the United States dollar, also offers global macroeconomic and financial stability through policy advice and capacity development with short-term and medium-term loans. While the World Bank provides loans for long-term loans and poverty reduction. But all this grammar you hear the IMF or World Bank, using whenever they are speaking, they are just grammar. Because when you see what is on the ground, the practicality, the result of what they're doing, then you will understand that those verbiage, those words that are using, like microeconomic, depression, and this and that, they're just words. What African countries should be looking at is the practicality. How practical is using the IMF and World Bank loan affecting the general population, the environment where that money is being used. And now you have seen how the IMF and World Bank was created. They were formed after the Second World War. They had that conference in 1944, but actually, both of them, the World Bank came into existence in December 27, 1945. That was when the World Bank came into existence, opened their doors, but both of them were formed in 1944. But the World Bank opened its doors for business in December 27, 1945. The bank actually gave its first loan in 1947. So between 1944 and 1947, you can tell that majority of African countries are not even independent at that time. So those who formed the IMF and World Bank are those that won the Second World War. They are the Europeans that formed it. and they did not form it for you. So that's why Nkola Mahadum is trying to let you know as an African that both the World Bank and International Monetary Fund are not for you because you were not represented. You are not on the table. Africans are not on the table when both of them were born, when both of them were established. You are not there. And also, the IMF and World Bank never tell the leaders that they are giving the loans to stop their corrupt practices. They never tell them to build seaports and airports in making sure in all their, trying to spread out all their institutions, commercial things that will help to really bring that money out that they're giving you. For example, in Nigeria, in Biafra land, we don't have any international airport. We don't have any seaport. We don't have any railroad. Because if you have a railroad from Lagos to Aba, or Lagos to Onitsha, or Onitsha to Enugu, or Aba to Nnewi, and railroads interconnecting all the Southeast, don't you know that any loan that you receive to build such railroads across the Southeast, which is heavily populated and financially stable, will make sure that those loans can be paid. So they're not advising you to build the infrastructures to make sure that there's productivity in your country. They are not supporting you to have steady lights. They are not supporting you to have good roads. They are not supporting you to have good communication system. All they are giving is to give you that loan, knowing that you will squander that loan. So that is why the World Bank and IMF are not for you. They do not fight the waste in government. They'll be there, the government receiving that money will be buying private jets, buying things that they shouldn't buy, buying bulletproof cars, and they're not telling them to stop those wastes. And the government will have so many cabinet members. A government that's supposed to have maybe 20 ministers, we have about 50 ministers. The IMF and World Bank is not telling you to cut those wastes. All their interest is to give you that money, knowing that that money will be wasted. And therefore, the advice Nkola Mahadum Wisdom University is providing to African countries is to stop taking those loans. Those loans are not for you. Cut your coat according to your size. Stop consuming foreign goods. Whatever you cannot produce in your country, don't eat it. Don't use it. Stop foreign goods. Stop copying Western style of government. It is too expensive. When you have all these local government councillors, chairmen in the states, you have the state governor, the House of Assembly members, and other commissioners and the rest. And in the federal, you have the president, National Assembly, and all these ministers and all. You don't need it to run a country successfully. Stop copying this Western styles of government or living standard. A president, you know that your country is poor, but you want to be riding the best private jets. You have more than 3 private jets where there's poverty in your land. Why the commonest person in your country is not feeding 3 times in a day, or it's not having one good food in a day. And you, the president, is driving several private jets. Stop copying those living standards. Why our people are still suffering. Also, invest in production. Invest in production. Because you have to be producing whatever you need in the country. Whatever you're not producing, do not import it. Invest in production, 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 production. You don't need any foreign loan. Also, stop the foreign trips. Foreign trips for medical this, foreign trip for that, foreign trip for that. Stop it. Why should we be going on foreign trips? Why the people are suffering? Why you don't have the money? Why the money is for loan? Is the loan that you are getting that you are using to travel and to do all those trips? Those are the ways that you have to stop. That's what you have to do. You don't need all this IMF or World Bank loan or advice. You don't need it. You can measure your performance. You can measure the standard of your country without any foreigner telling you what standards you have to meet. And because we said that we have to be keeping this lecture short in this Mahadum, the takeaway from this is that the IMF and World Bank were formed were formed after the Second World War, because the Europeans wanted to have a unified, a common way, redefined commercial way of doing business. And so they called a meeting in 1944, which lasted for almost 23 days. And there they agreed to form the IMF and World Bank. Where the IMF will now be in charge of fixing the exchange rates to the dollar, making the dollar the world currency, while the dollar was at that time backed by gold. Even though Richard Nixon removed that gold backing in 1971. And then also the World Bank was also created that on the same day. And out of these creations, the World Bank started business in 1946, gave the first loan in 1947, but no African countries were there during the formation. So those who formed it as profit organization. They are there to make money. And so there's nothing they're telling you and giving you money. Why should somebody be giving you money? Loan. Why shouldn't it be grant? If somebody wants to give you something free, it should be grant or dash. Use this to build railway. Use this to build road just for free. Don't pay me back. Then you will know that that person is helping you. But every time you're getting these loans without any plan to pay for them, it's a bad way to manage African countries. And African countries, Nkola Mahadum, Wisdom University, is advising you to know that the IMF and World Bank are not for you, because you were not there when it was created. They are profit-oriented. They do not fight for corruption. They do not ask the leaders to stop the waste in government. African countries say no to IMF and World Bank loans. Why should it be loans? If somebody wants to help you, why should it be loans? Stop copying Western style of government because it's too expensive. We cannot afford it. Cut down on foreign goods and standard of living. Whatever you cannot produce, do not use it in your country. That's how you grow your foreign exchange. No foreign trips for African leaders and their children. No medical trips. Develop your own health system and use it. That's how you have to be thinking out of the box. Don't be following the Western way, because the Western way we make you poorer and poorer and poorer with all the grammar they are speaking, which you don't know. That's what Nkolam wants all Africans to know today. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining us in this live lecture, and have a great day. Thank you very much.